was all politics. And the so-called sale of the Senate seat, which I'm known for, was reversed by the appellate court on the 22nd of July 2015 as I sat in prison. They could never uphold that unlawful standard they used against me. But they kept me in prison for 3 fundraising requests where there was no quid pro quo, which means no crime. But they moved the line and instructed the jury to convict if we asked for campaign contributions from people or groups who had business interests with the state, which is how politics works. Completely legal. But I think it was such a big deal that somebody had to go down. And you know, when you're fighting back against that kind of power, deep down you know you're going down, but you make a decision, I'm going down fighting. Because as Winston Churchill said, nations that go down fighting come back, but those who shamelessly surrender don't. So I think that a big powerful comeback happened.
Yeah. When you're saying, you know, they did this, they did that, they did this, who is they? Can you define? Is it Michael Casey? Is it who's they?
Well, the U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald, who was real close with James Comey. These guys worked together. He was in the FBI, number 1, number 2 guy in the FBI. Mueller was the FBI director when they arrested me. It's the same people that were doing to Trump what they did to me. And I think President Trump recognized that. That's among the reasons why he sent me home. And
what was his reasoning, though? Because he didn't have beef with you to start. There must have been something you had done where he said, something's up with that guy. Where did this all initiate?
You know, I learned is after I was arrested, I learned that they had been investigating. First of all, I knew they were investigating my administration and me since the very beginning when I became governor. Within 6 months.
For what reason, though?
They were looking at some people that I was close to, a guy by the name of Tony Resco, who was close to Obama and me, raised money for both of us. And but I had nothing to do with any of the things that they were looking at him at. But I was well aware that they were looking. And, you know, you come out of Chicago politics, you just assume those people look at you. So everything, you know, I tried to do was to make sure we were super careful we didn't do anything cross lines. The irony is those FBI tapes, for 6 weeks they were taping me. I assumed it was possible they could be listening. I was discussing the sale of the Senate seat. I was talking about every possible idea so that whatever we did was legal, didn't cross lines, and was the best possible decision I could make on something that was effing golden. It was fucking golden. You got this thing, everybody wants it, and you can make a real good political deal that could be helpful, hopefully. So it wasn't like I wasn't aware that they were looking at me. They were very much intensely looking at me.
Yeah, so you've seen the movie American Gangster with, who's in it? Russell Crowe, isn't it? With Denzel. Am I getting it right with Russell Crowe? Yes. Right. And then there's this scene where Russell Crowe is sitting there and he's got this person at the top that he's thinking is the main guy behind Blue Magic. I think it's called Blue Magic. Yeah. And, you know, he's the one that's doing it. And then all of a sudden he realizes, no, the guy out there all the way at the top is Frank Lucas, right? And Frank Lucas, $750 million during that time he earned. Anyways, later on he comes in and he throws everybody else under the bus, or whatever happened with the case at the end of the movie. But, so you said Fitzgerald, Mueller, you say all these names, right? The same thing they did with Trump, Comey, right? All these names you're saying. Who is the boss of them? That's like, who are they supporting? Who's the guy at the top when you play the same game?
I'm not even sure I know. To this day, I'm still trying to sort it out and figure it out. I do believe that there was some collusion with the Democratic House Speaker and Chairman of the party, Michael Madigan, who's now facing intense federal investigation. I do believe there was collusion when they impeached me because they wouldn't allow me to play tapes. You see, here's the thing, you guys, Patrick and Anna, they taped me for 6 weeks. They played selected snippets of conversation out of context to make me look bad. This is fucking gold and I'm not giving it up for nothing. That was the day after the election.
All you do in your doll, whatever doll it is
He said, Rock called me the night before, wants to talk to you about the Senate seat, what do you want? So I mentioned that to my aides. We discussed what can we get for this. And there was they don't play the rest of the game.
Sheesh! Welcome back to One Channel. We got
I've had them for years, but we're not allowed to play them publicly because immediately after they played those snippets and arrested me, they went right into court and got a seal to keep those tapes under seal, and it's against the law if you release them. And then we tried repeatedly in court to play those tapes at the trials. I was promised by the judge in the second trial that if I agreed to testify, I could play the tapes to corroborate my testimony. So I agreed to get up there and testify because I knew that if I testified on the tapes, the prosecutor's going to do exactly what he did, and that is lie to the jury. And say, go back to the jury room and see how many times You hear tapes corroborating what he says. Well, I get out there. They won't play the tapes. To this day, they won't play the tapes. And the tapes show a very different story from what they try to have people believe. They are lying scumbags. They're corrupt motherfuckers. You can say that, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
But
some of you guys.
I was watching the part where you're like, I'm going to testify. I will testify. I'm going to show you. Wait till you hear it. I want everybody to be out there. I'm the opposite of Nixon. Nixon said, no, I want everything to be out there. And then when it comes down to it, you didn't testify. And you said your lawyer wanted you to testify, but the father encouraged you to not testify because you don't have to. And you said something. If there's one thing that I'm guilty of, is sometimes I talk too much or something like that. He said, right? So what, from your end, I mean, I've heard the answer on the documentary. Unless if there's a different answer. Why didn't you eventually testify? If you know you're innocent, why don't you testify?
Right. Well, I did at the second trial. What you're talking about in that movie documentary is the first trial.
Yeah.
And at that point, the case was so ridiculously there was no crimes. But the decision by the lawyers was, don't even bother putting a defense in. They proved nothing. And so therefore, if you don't put a defense in, you can't testify. So
Way. The hi-hat master.
The hi-hat roll. So let's go into our channel rec. And let's add the P&D hats. And I like to cut the notes so they don't go off.
There I testify. I'm promised by the judge that if I agreed to testify, I could play the tapes to corroborate my testimony. And the judge lied.
Too much. So I'm just going to fill this in with 2 steps each. Look at that pattern.
His name is Reed Shaw. And I challenged me. He went up before the jury and lied and said, you're going to testify about the sentencing. Go back into the jury room and hear how many times you hear tapes.
If you don't know how to select the pattern, check out one of our other videos. We'll teach you how to do that. We'll select that pattern. So I like to right click and I go into that piano roll. Or you could just click that piano roll button, which is right here. And let's just scroll that over so we can take a look at it. No, click that piano roll button, which is right here. So I like to right click and I go into that piano roll. Or you could just click that piano roll button, which is right here.
And more power to you. If you're freaking innocent, I would be at the same position as you. But my question is, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently? There must have been something you've been like, you know what? Yes, I'm innocent, but I could have done a little better at that. What is that?
Look, I had all those years to think about it, right? I mean, I'm sitting in a higher security prison. You know, the governor being a real prison where my home was a 6 foot by 8 foot prison cell. They put me there for 32 months, all designed to squeeze me and try to break me the way to resist. When you're in a place like that, and then you have all those other years afterwards, you got more than enough time to do a lot of stuff, including think. Not that healthy to think too much, but you can't help it sometimes. I was asking myself the same question you asked me. Because my children have been harmed, my little girls, and my wife. And I asked myself, did my pride get so caught up in my pride that I should have been more sensible and willing to maybe cut my losses a little bit and give in, not so much for me, but for my kids, so that I won't be gone so long. Probably could have been gone 18 months. They were floating that around after the first time. They were floating the possibility of 18 months. I rejected it completely because that would require me to plead guilty to something that's not a crime. I wouldn't do it. And so I asked myself those questions. So I'm answering your question is long, but just because I've gone through it myself many, many times. And I would answer, here's how in my own mind, I feel like I made the right call. If I was a business,
and let's just scroll that over so we can take a look at those notes. I think it's in C5. Yeah, by default it comes in C5. So I'm actually going to copy all those beats with a Control-A, Control-B. So I can hear them all. So what I like to do is, I'll take out some extra notes and then I'll extend this one out.
twice I swore in the Holy Bible, serve and protect the Constitution and the rule of law. And I was elected by the people to do that. And I just couldn't get over the fact that I'd be selling out the people as well as myself if I gave into this. Plus the fact that I think I'd be a drunk because I hate myself. I wouldn't be able to look I couldn't look myself in the mirror, which is something I like to do too often. Okay?
Well, you got a great head of hair. Those are the rumors about you.
I comb it less because I would hate myself if I gave into it when I know absolutely everything I did was legal. And those conversations were all about making sure we did everything right because these people were chasing me. So the final analysis is it's been a long, hard journey. The hand of God reached in, used President Trump as an instrument. The unlikely convergence events that Trump would have me as celebrity opponents.
And then I'll hit control and select this thing. It's like a control drag. And then I'll hit control.
I didn't know you could control drag actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually click the this little button, the bracket thing.
So what you can do, there's a couple ways that you can do this. Is you can hit this little. Something about I used to be a shoe shiner, and you made a few comments about Obama. So and that was made years ago, which he probably held that against you. Why he didn't want to pardon you? Because in every possible way, no one in a million years thought your crime should be. Little down arrow, and you can do this quick chop, which is control U, and it'll already chop it up for you. Control U, or you can go into the tools, and you can just chop it up. It says Alt U. And that will give you the options to change like the velocity.
Nice.
You can make it real fast if you want.
Yeah, look, I just admitted that I wasn't so good at algebra. I also admit sometimes I say stupid things. And I was talking to some reporter doing an Esquire magazine, doing a profile on me. I'd run 8 miles earlier that day, had eaten all day, watching Manny Pacquiao fight Ricky Hatton. Remember that fight 4 years ago? Yeah. And I had my host, Italian, American guy, gave me this drink called limoncello. You ever had that? Yeah. It's like lemonade with alcohol in it. Yeah. And I was thirsty to have rum, and I hadn't eaten all day. This is why you were working over there? No, I was thrown out of office by then. I was in the middle of my trials. I think it was before the first trial. And so I had that limoncello, and I was a little bit too loose-lipped. And I'm talking to this reporter. You can't trust those sons of bitches, right? That's why magazine, and I'm pointing at Hatton and Pacquiao, especially Pacquiao, right? Great admiration for boxing. You talk about how you have to chip, in life you gotta have a chip on your shoulder. It starts with schooling. You get your ass kicked, and you got to Harvard and decide to overcome adversity and stuff. So I started going off on that. Then I got into Obama. Here's what I said the stupid thing. Not altogether wrong, but you shouldn't say it as a white guy. I said I'm blacker than Obama. Obama's lifestyle, he went to Hawaii, he growing up, went to Harvard, not really a city guy. I grew up in the heart of the city, I went to public school. They wouldn't let me in Harvard, they let him in. And, I had those jobs, as you say, shining shoes, all these other jobs, just my life experience. I did talk about how my policies were tremendously helpful to the African American community. I like to think everybody else, too. For far more than his would ultimately be, because he could have done so much more than he did. So I said it in that context.
Why is it that white folks say that and our people can't understand that?
Was it around the same time that Harry Reid made those comments as well? I think Harry Reid made some comments as well, right? Saying
So let's
the
continue.
reason why he got elected because he doesn't have the accent.
And this is just a personal little touch I like to do. And that will give you the options to arrow, and you can do this quick chop, which is control U, and it'll already chop it up for you. Control U, or you can go into the tools, and you can just chop it up. It says Alt U. And that will give you the options to change like the velocity.
When I said, why didn't Obama pardon you? Because you said Obama was a part of it. So now let's go to that part. When you said if Obama's a part of it, my speculation becomes if Obama. So because sometimes I feel like when Jerry Buss gets a call from Shaq, and Shaq says, "Hey Jerry, Riley and the Heat offered me $20 million. If you match me, I'll stay with you at the Lakers." You know what Jerry Buss told him? He said, "I think you should take that offer because I can't match that offer." And what does Shaq do? He goes to Miami. What does Jerry do?
Nice.
You can make it real fast if you want. And this is just a personal little touch I like to do. Like I'll switch the velocities here. and I'll just drag them here so they hit at different speeds. So you can change all those node properties there.
Dope.
So that's how you chop it up. So
Nice.
again, you can just put that node over there, control drag, and hit Alt U, and then it'll give you that little cut right there. And then I'll just drag those around. And then kind of like this change of velocities.
Dope.
Anything you want to add?
No, that was pretty solid actually. I guess that's a good way to do it. Absolutely. I usually, if I were to like have a note, I want to like chop it up. Say I had like 2. Bracket. I think it's Alt U. Yeah. Just bracket Alt U. You already touched on the Alt U, but I mean, that's pretty like. And then you just
do something crazy.
Yo, who be rolling hats like this? Yo, hat.
I believe this is my belief. I'll give you my belief on how it all shook out. So what happened was, because Bresco was closer to Obama than he was to me, he actually bought a property. Obama bought a big mansion after he was elected United States Senator, and then the lot, he burned the lot. This guy Bresco bought for Obama. And then when the heat was on the way, Obama gave him a bill, and Bresco paid $13,000 to put a fence on. Like a $750,000 lot that was paid at this price by Bresco was basically for Obama. It was like a adjoining lot to the mansion. So they were looking at both of us, I think, because of Bresco. And they were right to look at Bresco and the allegations related to stuff that he was doing. And yet, in any event, he finally gets convicted. Bresco, and he's tweeting to say stuff about 2 of us. He puts out a letter to the sentencing judge that these federal prosecutors are trying to make me say things about Governor Bush and Senator Obama. He actually listed me first. I'm not going to lie about those 2 guys just to save myself. I've never been involved in any wrong doing.
Bresco.
Yeah, it's a matter of public record. Made the front page of the Chicago Tribune. The big deal was the Bresco lie to save himself, but he squeeze these people. You know, that it's fairly long sentences, but they'll say certain things they want them to say, single proposed, then they get lighter sentences. That was the big fear. When the Bresco did that, both of us were in a real good place. That's when they started putting me up on tape. But then when they arrested me, here's what I think happened to Obama. They immediately went to Obama, and they interviewed him because he was involved in the case. And those are called FBI 302s. To this day, they still won't give us, my team, my lawyers, the FBI 302s of Obama's interview, which is absolutely relevant to a criminal defendant me in the facing that I was facing. They have to give you that. They didn't, and they still won't. So they've got that sort of under seal as well. I think Obama made a calculation, political people made a calculation, that when Fitzgerald made that big move, to the city governor in such a dramatic way the way he did, I was politically radioactive. They did this on purpose. Everybody's winning. It's like the ship is sinking and everybody jumps over, right? Obama was no different. And he was saving himself politically, not wanting to get caught up in any of that. And so I was sold out in the process.
You seem like a very ambitious guy. Very. You seem like super ambitious with shit, which I relate to.
I always say that's projection considering your background.
Well, listen.
It's high praise, by the way.
No, I see you as an extremely ambitious guy with a very unique quality. When I'm listening to you, you're sitting there with my wife and Amy and the girls, and we go to sleep, and I'm telling them we're going to stay strong, and I'm not breaking, I'm not crawling, we're not going to try to get through this, because the truth is this and all this stuff. And then, you say we go to sleep, we put this to sleep, and I wake up in the morning, 14 years, and I'm getting it, I'm still not crying, you tell me the story, you're not breaking, right? And then you said, I'm not going to turn on because I've been replaying this in my mind, that if I go out the door, I'm not going to look back, I'm going to go out the door, and I look back, and it was the hardest thing I had to do in my life.
Hello and welcome to Busy Works Beats. planobeats.com. Today we're going to show you how to create hi-hat rolls and snare rolls inside of FL Studio. It really doesn't matter which DAW you're using. You could take these techniques and use them in any DAW. So what I want to show you today is built-in snare rolls that sound more realistic, like a drum kit, and also synthesized snare rolls, taking advantage of the step sequencer, aka the channel rack in FL Studio 12. So I'll simplify what that really means. So let's open up our browser. Let's go to busyworksbeats.com. Let's go to Fleek, drum kits, and let's choose. Now here I want to show you the sounds you're going to be looking for excuse me, when you're trying to create hi-hat rolls and snare rolls. For hi-hat rolls, you want to think a very short hi-hat that's has a very low decay, like I can't even do it that fast. Like kind of like a machine gun. I don't mean it that violent, but you only hear that little click of each bullet coming out the barrel. And that's what I'm talking about. Or every time the hammer hits, or whatever, however guns work. I don't know. I don't have one. So think of it that way, okay? You want a very short decay. You want the sound to repeat over and over again. I'm going to show you how to do that. And you want to be creative with your hi-hat rolls. I'm going to show you different ways to be creative with it. Snare rolls, same thing. You want a very short decay snare roll. You want to have something very short and to the point. You don't want to have a long, drawn-out snare roll. There are certain reasons why you would use longer snare rolls, like metronome on. We're at 140 BPM, just the starting BPM. Now, first I want to show you what a snare roll sounds like from a drum kit. And then we're going to get into what the snare roll that we're going to create is going to sound like. Okay, it's very different. So let's go into Contact 5. We're using Abbey Road Modern Drummer. I'm going to open up the piano roll, and I forget which key it is. Here we go. So here's the snare roll. So where do you use this if you were to use it in a live drum context? So let's just set up a pattern here with a kick and a snare. Let's turn the metronome on. Forgot we're at 140, so let's go. Okay, so a snare roll typically for a real drum kit would go somewhere at the end of a rhythm. Now you can place it anywhere you want. I'm not saying you have to put it at the end, but it kind of gives like the wrap-up feel to your drum. So let's add that right at the end. Okay, it just has that, which means it's not going to give it a defined note length. They're just points along the piano roll. So click inside, and they're going to be these cylindrical looking shapes that are very short.
In that seat, and a lot of times that's a leverage point, right? Historically, it's not the first. You're not the first person that went through this. This happens regularly, and there's some kind of leverage in negotiation. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's campaign support, sometimes it's an endorsement, sometimes it's a lot of different things that we read about. But the recording goes.
All you do in your DAW, whatever DAW it is literally just drag and drop.
We can drag one of these chord progressions in.
I'm not going to do it. There's a life after that if I do it, right? You guys are telling me to sit here for 2 years as a governor and do nothing. Everyone is passing me by, give it up for nothing. And then, he says, who's passing me by? And who's doing this? And he said, everybody, right? You wanted Jesse Jackson, and then I came and said, only 13% of you think I'm doing a good job? And then Ron says, I want Jesse and everything. The problem is, how do we take some of my financial pressure?
Hey, walker on the top, running through the guap.
Yo, how's it going, YouTube? A Walker here, back with another tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to achieve the
While you're in this moment and going through this, and you hear that the recording is public, and it's Michael Case that
achieve the craziest bounce possible on any given beat. Basically going to be covering some secret presets and like delays, and just how to like cut and like shape drum samples the right way. And without further ado, I'm going to get into the video. So here's a little example of what I've done with just a little melody. This melody wasn't made by me, but I laid out a quick little drum pattern here, and I used a couple of plugins to help me get crazy bounce. So here's what it sounds like. Anyways, so you get the gist of it, and just so you guys know, all the sounds I use in this video, like any of the sounds in this video, feel free to check out the link in the bio. But anyways, I'm going to be showing you guys how to get that bounce. So step one, create your new pattern. I'm going to turn these off. So now it's just the melody. So right off the bat, I'm going to start out with my hi-hat. So I'm going to actually start fresh here. So I'm just going to drag in some drums. Here's a classic hi-hat. It's literally self-explanatory. I'm actually going to drag in 2. This is key. Always drag in 2. I'm going to be showing you guys like a delay sequence and how to do it. And you want one of them with delay and one of them without delay. I like this clap.
And I was angry too because I knew these feds were on my ass. I knew it, and I was fearful that they were going to do everything they could.
Okay, so like I said, I'm going to start out with the hi-hats. So just start out with like a simple kind of pattern. Don't fill in each 2 steps. Just start out with like a simple pattern, and then just pencil it in. So I got that simple little pattern going. So what I'm going to do is just highlight this. I'm going to press Control B, which just copy and pastes it right in front of each other, and then highlight them both, and then do Control G, and that merges the clips together. So now I have a nice little 8-bar clip, and so this original hi-hat that I just filled in, I'm going to put it in a delay. I'm going to send it to the mixer, and by the way, in case you guys didn't just see what I did there, I clicked it, and then I clicked the track button up here on the top right, so I tracked it. So now it's in channel 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and find Fruity Delay 2. And what I like to do with Fruity Delay 2 is I like to find like a nice little time in which the hi-hat will bounce back and play again, which I think is around here, here, or here. But I kind of just do whatever sounds best. And then you have to cut down the cut just a little bit, so the delay doesn't keep going and going and going and going. You want it to kind of stop so it doesn't fuck up the mix in any way. And also the volume, because you don't want the feedback, like the delay, to be overpowering the original sample. So just lower the volume a little bit there. So now that I have delay on it, let's see what it sounds like. Okay, and there's a couple of things I like about that and I don't like about it. So as you can see here, when it goes over these 2 notes here, it kind of makes like a weird delay after. So that's why I dragged in two hi-hats. So this second hi-hat I'm going to use without the delay. So I'm going to just pencil it in there and erase it. Pencil it in there and erase it. And with this hi-hat without the delay, I like to pencil in a little bit more hi-hat sauce, so I just don't want it to delay again. So here's what it sounds like again. So you get the gist of it, and just like that, the hi-hats are already crazy bouncy. So I'm just going to pencil in a quick little bit of extra hi-hats in here just to give it even more bounce. Alright, so now that we have the hi-hats done, I'm just going to throw in a quick little bit of perks, just to give it even more bounce. And what I like to do with my perks or open hats, just drag it in, and the first thing you're going to want to do is open it and then go to this little envelope section over here, you're going to want to turn the attack all the way down, the hold all the way up, decay or whatever it's called all the way down, and then the rest of these all the way down. So basically, now you can end like the note playing at any given time. So see how that just kind of ends whenever it pleases. When I just drag it just a little bit like that, it'll end in that little time frame. So you see what I mean? That gives it even more bounce if you just have something that's cutting frequently. So I'm just gonna paste it there. I'm gonna add my clap. I forgot about that. So now that I have some nice bouncy hi-hats and a little bit more bounce with the open hat, I'm just going to throw in a perk. I'm going to be using my Slime Stain drum kit for that perk. Actually, I'm going to be using one of my other drum kits, but it'll be available soon. This BPM, this 125 BPM is really good for bouncy drums and stuff like that. So you're going to want to find like a nice melody that goes along with it too, because that's key in having good bounce too. And then after that, I'm going to throw in a couple of snares just to top it off, and then we'll also add in the 808. So right off the bat, it's already sounding crazy bouncy, so the 808 is literally just the cherry on the cake, and the beat's basically done. So what I like to do with the 808, just to make sure it's in key and it sounds good, I normalize it, just put it out a little bit, and then I go in here to the levels adjustment, boost it, and then I'm going to use the tracking function on the top right over here, track it. And then what I like to do to put it in key, like I said, is just raise it up 2 octaves, so now it's in C7 as opposed to C5. And then just use your ear and so you can hear which note it sounds best in. So it sounds best in this note. So back down to 5. So I forgot to cut self, and now they're all together, so let's hear it now. I'm going to lower this one actually. And yeah, that's basically it for the tutorial. Just showing you guys a quick little couple of tips and tricks to make your bounce even better than it already is. So thanks for watching the video. Peace out.
In that recording, you said maybe I should just gone back and listen to Mel Bell and, not even inventing new stuff and just kind of, Mel Bell being your not Mel Bell, Big Bell, your father-in-law, right? Yeah. Who helped you come up with it? A lot of the things he played, and you give him a lot of credit.
Hey, it's Mario Lopez, and I'm here to tell you that less really can't be more with AT&T Prepaid. Right now, get the Samsung Galaxy A03s for $29 or the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G for $199 only at Walmart. Taxes extra. A03s requires new line with in-store activation on any monthly plan. Restrictions apply. For details, visit your local Walmart store.
So we had a landfill. You see, my father-in-law, look, I love him. As strange as this, yet he's, I think, had a big hand in what happened. Clean up the environmental issue, let the court decide what should happen. But in the meantime, as we were exploring this and learning about this issue, he was threatening me through third parties. If I shut this down, he's going to do X, Y, and Z and all the rest. We ended up having mobsters involved in the whole thing. The whole thing was rotten and dirty. And I did my job, and I shut it down. And he was back down here in Florida at the time, vacationing at home in Santa Ana, on the West Coast. And he called a press conference, went to Fort Myers, and started bashing me. He attacked one of my good friends who was my top fundraiser, saying that he was trading board commission appointments for $50,000 campaign contributions, a big lie. That he later on would retract because he was being threatened with a lawsuit. But once he did that, he unleashed the furies on me, the FBI, got really interested in within a month they were in my life. He started it, and he knew it. He was smart politically. He's an old Chicago ward boss. That whole system that I was up against. I married into it. I love his daughter.